Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Over the Line. It's been a very, very long time. I'm one of your hosts, Caleb, and then we got Connor and a special guest today, Coach. If you guys want to go ahead and say hello.
How's it going?
Hello.
Been a minute. Been a minute.
Excited to be making my debut. Yes,
So,
sir. Yes, sir, Coach. Looking fine as ever, and Connor over there looking pretty good with the Billie Eilish poster in the back. But yeah, we're back. We're making our comeback for the NBA season. And yeah, just to get ourselves kind of familiar with Coach, what is your background with like basketball? And are you excited to kind of talk about the start of the NBA season with us today?
Yeah, absolutely excited for the season to get going. I've just been watching basketball my entire life and head coach the world famous Keystone Tigers up at MSU.
Oh hell yeah, yeah, dude. Why don't you get into that a little bit? Just let for a minute. Let's just talk about the Keggers because we haven't really brought that up. Well, we brought it up once, but what's it like coaching the Keggers over there?
Yeah, we're an intramural team. We probably take it more seriously than just about anybody else, but we've won a championship our freshman year. Connor here's our starting point guard, one of our best players, and then we got a few other guys in our team that are pretty good, that were all pretty good high school players. We've lost 3 games in our 3 years, Michigan State in total, one in the regular season and two in the playoffs. I think we're 20-3, I want to say, is our record.
That's pretty solid, man.
Play a lot of our game through like defense and rebounding. We play a pretty slow pace kind of basketball, but it's kind of what works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in those IM games, it is what works, and players go in there thinking they're hot shit, and then they run into you guys, and you know,
Yeah, we take care of the ball a lot better than other teams. Force a lot of turnovers and don't turn it over much ourselves.
right. It helps having an actual like point guard on your team too, I'm sure.
Yeah, sometimes yeah.
All right, well, cool. Best of luck to you guys this year. Make any new additions I might not know about.
We got one guy coming back that was on our original championship team. He was our sixth man, and we got him back now in the fold. He was a
Oh,
couple other
nice.
places playing more, but we got him back. Probably still looking at adding one more guy before our season.
well, what's his face is Matthew is told us that he'd play.
Yeah,
We have a guy that we found that we just found him like in open runs. He's a freshman, but he was like his first team all region in Wisconsin last year, and
Oh,
his team that came up runner up in the state
he was
championship.
like 6'5", six
He's
foot
like
six,
six
right?
five, 6'6",
Yeah.
plays like a power forward, and we've seen him a couple times playing um just like pickup ball and stuff. And we asked him if he's on a team or not, and he said no, and he said he'd love to play with us. So I've seen him a couple other times, and he's said every time that he's like down to play. So
Yeah,
we
good
might
help.
he's
Yeah.
that's like kind of what we're missing is like a scoring threat with height. And
Yeah.
so that's definitely gonna help us out. We're definitely going for that second ring.
yeah,
Going all
I
in.
really hope you guys get it, man. Last chance. Let's end it on a high note, boys.
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
But yeah, I guess it's just to kind of segue into where we've been. We're all seniors in college now, so it's been a busy first couple months, I'd say. And we off season, not much is going on, so no reason to really post up until now. So we're gonna try and get more consistent with that for sure. Connor and I will try to find a schedule that works, and if Coach happens to be available, I'd love to have him on again. He's already doing a great job. So I guess without further ado, are you guys just ready to kind of get into it?
Yes, sir.
All
Sounds good.
righty. All right, Con, why don't you start us off? What's what are your thoughts on sort of the free agency this year? And are there any moves that really stood out to you that might fly under the radar?
Well, in terms, obviously, we all know about like the biggest moves that have happened. With Cat, PG, all those pretty obvious ones. But talking about one of our segments we were gonna do is our favorite offseason move, and I kind of wanted to stay away from like one of those big acquisitions and more go with something that I thought was maybe more impactful than people realize, and that's like the Alex Caruso signing, I think, in Oklahoma City. I think that, and the reason why I think it's so big is because obviously everyone knows Caruso's a good player, a scrappy defensive player who, you know, um, has been around for a while. But I think that what people don't understand about why a lot of times teams will go in the offseason and they'll just more so look to add assets based on just the overall market and what's like the most important. But what I really like about what the Thunder did with Hartenstein and with Caruso is that they went out and they got someone who like fits the mold of their team and someone that they were like really needing. I mean, if you saw what happened at the end of why they got knocked out, I mean, Shea was the only one that was doing anything. That young core and that lack of playoff experience and overall just veterans in general is definitely something that they needed. I think going into next year already being probably the favorites in the Western Conference. and if not, just kind of more so solidified that. And I think that Caruso just kind of fits that gritty defensive mold of team basketball that got OKC so far last year. And I think that he's just a perfect fit. And yeah, so overall, I'd say that kind of flies under the radar a little bit to me. Obviously, people know that it's important, but I think it might end up becoming a lot more important than people like realize right now.
Yeah, Caruso is not really going to make many highlight play. Well, when he does get a highlight play, it'll be shown.
Cool
But
defensive
people,
plays.
yeah,
Yeah,
people are going to forget Caruso's on the Thunder until it hits playoff time,
Mhm.
and I
absolutely.
think he's going to be huge for them as well. Teams need people with the intangibles and the hustle that Caruso has, and he fits in, perfectly. I can tell that, Chet and Shea and Jalen Williams, they all want to win. So I loved that signing for them.
Another point I was going to make on the Hartenstein thing is I think if you have more of a physical big that can play, especially defensively in the paint, compared to a Holmgren who can kind of stretch the floor more. I think there might even be some opportunity to play him and Chet together, and it can kind of help each other out. I think there's a world where they start.
Do you think they start them together?
Yeah, I think there's a world, maybe at least come playoff time, there's a world you can play Shea, Caruso, Jalen Williams, move them down to the 3, and then play Chet and Hartenstein. I don't think taking Lou Dort out of the starting lineup can hurt them that much.
Defensively, yeah, but obviously, like you just said with Caruso, I mean, you're kind of what are you really losing? I mean, the only, in the Lou Dort is one of those guys where I think is going to start, and I think Caruso is going to be the one coming off the bench.
I think could be one of those things though where who's starting and who's getting all the more minutes could be two different things.
Very different things. I agree. Happened with me and Deshaun and my sophomore.
Yeah, honestly, I totally, and I think, yeah, I don't think they'll end up not starting Lou Dort just because he has been the starter for like what 4 or 5 seasons now at this point. So, and think back to the Lakers championship run, and then they had a decent season after that. Caruso was coming off the bench until the very last game, and I think, it was a smart substitution to kind of put him in the starting lineup to help win that championship against the Heat, but just having that burst of energy off the bench, I don't think Lou Dort coming off the bench gives them that same energy. They already have so much stuff in that starting lineup that
What they were missing, definitely, I think, is that spark off the bench.
And I think with the Thunder, you're looking at a team that no matter which way they go, they're going to be in the playoffs. And I think you should be more looking at who's starting in April than who's starting in November.
That's true.
And also who's playing when the game's on the line and not at the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What did or you go ahead? I was gonna.
No, I was just saying, I think there's, I think the point about Hartenstein and Chet playing together is also interesting. It's going to depend a lot on what the other team is kind of rolling out. So I think they're going to be more focused on what the other team might be playing. If they're playing 2 bigs, then yeah, definitely roll out that 2 big lineup. But I also think, they can still hurt teams because Chet's still very just versatile. He's an extremely talented power forward. So I do think that 2 big lineup is a really good point there, Coach.
Yeah, you could almost see it be like Milwaukee, how they'll play Portis and Lopez together.
Yeah. Yeah. Or yeah, Portis and
Portis is no shit, but
I know. But I just mean in terms of playing 2 bigs, there aren't a lot of teams in the league that really do it anymore.
Yeah.
Portis is just big Chat. Come on.
You'll see it in Memphis this year too with Edey and Jaren.
Well, Jaren definitely is more of a natural 4 who had to play 5 for a long time.
Absolutely, but he can guard a lot of 5s in the NBA.
Definitely can. That's probably why he was running the 5, but he definitely is going to, I think, benefit as an overall player playing it.
He can be an offensive 4 and a defensive 5 in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
He's only going to be an offensive 5 at any level.
Yeah.
Jaren's such a cheat code, bro.
Very good.
I was talking about it earlier. I mean, with him and adding Edey to the lineup and Ja being back for a whole season, that's Memphis is a team that's definitely interesting.
They were really hard to rank for us. We'll talk about it when we get to the Western Conference.
Yeah, dude. I didn't necessarily know where to put them. They were the last team I ranked.
They are a hard team to rank.
We were both saying we could see them as a 6 or 7 seed as easily. We can see them missing the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So anyway, what was your off-season move that really struck your eye that you were thinking?
The one that really struck my eye and I thought was genius was honestly the Spurs picking up the veterans Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. And I like it. I think Chris Paul is just watching him and Wemby together is going to be a lot of fun. I don't think they're going to make any noise in the playoffs or anything like that, but I do think that Wemby having a season or 2 with Chris Paul is going to be huge for his development. And I think it'll be a move that, won't do much in the grand scheme of things in terms of teams, but I think it'll help Wemby and just that entire Spurs team a lot, just having veterans because they haven't had veterans
And think about what that also is going to do for Stephon Castle's development as well, being a point.
Exactly.
Can you imagine being a point guard that's coming into the league with knowing that you're a young guy with Wemby as your 1 year superior, and then Chris Paul, one of the greatest a top 5 probably point guard ever, if debatably, and that's coming in, and
you got to do an episode on that for sure.
You didn't like that one, but I said debatably. He definitely is debatably a top 5 point guard. You want to name
no rings, no rings. Nah.
I say he gets a ring, he's a lock, but
yeah.
Anyway, I like that. I think that's huge for both of their developments as well, and also, yeah, like you said, Harrison Barnes goes under the radar as well because there are a lot of young Jeremy Shohan, like young wing type players, have had no role model, no veteran in the organization.
Right. No, I agree. I still think that before the Spurs get a point guard that's like a current threat in the NBA, it's gonna be hard for them to win, like at a real level.
Yeah,
go ahead. I think the fact that he'll play under Chris Paul for a couple of years will be better once they're ready to win, once they get a real point guard in there.
Yeah, and I think the Spurs were trying to do interesting things to kind of fix that point guard problem because Trey Jones, he's all right. He's a serviceable backup. He's just the lesser version of his older brother Tyus. And they were starting him, and then they tried running like Jeremy Sohan at point guard, and that was I don't know what the hell was going on there. So I think Chris Paul is going to come in there and they'll win 30 games. They'll be solid, but they'll be competitive, hopefully. Debatable how many games they'll win, but I think I'm just excited to see what they're able to do with an actual point guard.
Yeah. I like that. That was one I wasn't even thinking about.
I mean, Connor, I do think 30 games might sound like a lot more coming from us Pistons and Hornets fans.
Yeah,
a lot of people,
yeah.
30 games still not a ton of wins.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're definitely right. You're definitely right.
And I guess just one more we didn't really touch. I'm curious what y'all think about Klay Thompson to the Mavericks.
Well, we can segue this into preseason if you still want to talk about preseason.
Oh, yeah, we can just go into preseason. I mean,
that was the first thing I was going to talk about.
Yeah, let's go ahead and segue. Yeah.
Well, I try not to overreact to preseason too much. I feel like a lot of people often do, but it's definitely not something as a Mavericks fan that you wanted to see, having him end off the way he did last season and start off the way he did this season. Would he go for 10? Over 10 last in his first preseason game, but at the same time, I think it was a good wake up call for a lot of Mavs fans to understand that you need to tamper their expectations of the idea of, if Klay's on that Mavericks team last year, they don't beat the Celtics. They probably don't even make it even that much closer. They make him he's slightly better. They definitely do drastically improve their spacing a little bit and their overall talent, but I think it's a good wake up call for a lot of Mavs fans to understand that they have bigger problems than needing Klay on their team.
Yeah. And he is not the defender he used to be. It's kind of crazy. He has had one of the sharpest declines I think I've ever seen out of a star in this league so far, because the people he kind of, grew up in the league with, playing with, like James Harden, Paul George, they're still very effective players. But Klay, his drop off has been really, really bad. And, I like Connor was saying, I do think he's certainly a much better fit than Derrick Jones Jr. But, I think he's very inconsistent now. He's not, giving you 20 points, maybe 60. He's giving you 7, maybe 20 now. Yeah. So, it's a double-edged sword there. But I do hope the best for Mavs fans. Now, I hope it works out, but we'll see.
A couple of that.
See, I don't know. My 2 points are, one, I think they kind of took a swing at Paul George and went with option number 2, which I think a lot of times in free agency and sports, when you just settle on the second guy, it does not work out. Like, those of us that are Tigers fans know the Tigers took a swing at a couple big shortstops and ended up with Javier Baez, who's been a disaster. And I think the other thing you can kind of look at is, you talk about him being maybe a decent defensive liability at this point of his career. You're looking at Luka Doncic, who's also a defensive liability. You want to roll out there 2 starters that are defensive liabilities at once, and Kyrie's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
I think that you're in a situation where Luka, you have a window to win. And I think that you might have just, by doing this, if you don't win in the next couple years, I can't see a situation where, at that point, why does Luka still want to be in Dallas?
It almost sounds desperate a little bit.
It almost seems like you want to keep Luka happy and want to stay in Dallas. And so I think the reality might start setting in that he's not going to win a championship there.
Yeah. And another thing is the Dallas Mavericks have no depth, it seems like. They were rolling out like Josh Green in the finals last year. Like, come on. I just
Man,
When they
don't
went
hate the
out,
Josh Green, man. Come on,
no hate to Josh Green. I know he's on
that's
the
my
Hornets
Hornet
now,
boy.
but
That's my
still,
Hornet
like,
boy.
when they went out and got Kyrie Irving, they kind of sold their soul in away for that, which
yeah.
I get why he did, but at the same time, it's you
You know,
need a power forward or center that's an impact player.
I think we are not. I think we are hating a little bit too much because if you're a Mavs fan, you are so happy that you gave up what you gave to even have a chance to be where you were last year. Being in the finals, winning the West last year was a
Miracle.
miracle to an extent, but like it's not like they didn't beat really good teams on their way there that are gonna be here again this year.
I think
Like,
the Thunder are going to be a better team because they're all going to be a year older. I think the T Wolves might even be better. I think
T-Wolves
that
definitely better.
I think last year might have been the perfect storm for them to win the West. I don't see them doing it again.
I mean, last year they just had, I think they
so they
outcoached
made
every other
playoffs
team
in the
as
top like
well.
a higher seed as well. Like they had a great regular season as
They were
well.
the four, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, were they the 4 or the 5? Because it was
Or
them
the
the Clippers.
four.
I think they were the 4.
They were practically tied
They were
for
the
the 4 or
4.
5.
Yeah,
Didn't matter, but
it was a toss up. But and they took care of the Clippers, took care of
the
Oklahoma
Thunder.
City,
I think
took
the
care of the
Thunder, yeah.
Timberwolves. I mean, these are teams. This isn't like they had a bad regular season. They snuck in and they got hot at the right time. This is a good team. This Luka Doncic is a top 3 NBA player
Yeah.
currently. Like when you have that at all, you're always going to be competitive. And all I'm saying is I don't hate the fact that they went all in and got desperate and they're trying to make this attempt of like what you said, like they have this closing window. They're doing
Right.
all they can right
But
now.
you got to do it. This year is probably your only chance with it because
And they're probably going giving all they can to do it. And
Right.
I do respect that. I will say that.
Yeah,
And
I think they're putting a lot of their faith in health as well.
I say you better pray like Kyrie stays healthy, Lucas stays healthy.
The big one's Kyrie. I think
Yeah.
Luka is pretty good at playing all of his
yeah, when
game.
you don't play
Well, I
defense,
was gonna say when you play one way,
yeah.
Yeah, that's
you're so
true.
much bigger than everyone that plays your position.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I just thought that was a interesting signing to see, and especially with how he played in the preseason. I mean, everyone says it's only preseason. You know, the Pistons went 2-2 in preseason. Could easily start 0-6. You know, I can see it. So, um, but
My
yeah,
favorite analogy with preseason sports is the '08 Lions went 0-16 and were 4-0 in the preseason.
They were
that's crazy. I did not know that. Well,
Yep.
all right. Well, I guess, Coach, you got anything you want to start this preseason discussion on? Like anything that you kind of noticed that, you might want to share here?
The one thing that's kind of interesting, and I know this is pretty irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, but everyone's obviously talking about in the NBA. What are the Lakers going to look like? Is Bronny going to be an actual player on their team, or is this just a publicity stunt? And also, how much does it weigh down the rest of their team? You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, I think that's super interesting. And I was telling my roommate about this the other day. I was like, bro, like what do LeBron's teammates think about them drafting Bronny? Because I would just, if I'm on that team,
Right.
I'm watching Bronny out here play. To be fair, he did have a decent game in their last preseason game, but they lost by like 70 points or something like that. It was crazy. If I'm one of their players, I'm pretty frustrated. And dude, kid's clearly not ready. It's pretty clear he doesn't have the intangibles. He's pretty lazy running around out there, it seems like. And I'm just surprised that, he's not really trying to make a name for himself.
Yeah, I mean, you think about a player that we kind of are familiar with that's on the same team as them. What is not that I'm a big fan of this player, but what does like a Max Christie think of this? Because, in those garbage time minutes, I bet you there's a good chance Bronny gets, Max Christie gets passed up for him.
You
Yeah.
guys think
Not that Max
Bronny,
Christie's some good player, but he's probably only gonna have a few years in the league.
and it's someone that's trying to work on his development.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
And this might just
Max
totally
Christie has had a bunch of good games. I think Max Christie has built a resume of solid NBA games.
right.
He's one of those guys
like having a Bronny on your team. Like I'm sure he's not happy about it because that might take away some of his minutes.
Yeah, I don't think it's a publicity stunt. I think a lot of it might have to do with JJ Redick as the coach as well, and his relationship with LeBron James. All these people can say it has nothing to do with that, him being the coach, but come on, there's no way.
Do you guys think Bronny James scores 20 points in a game this year?
Absolutely not.
Maybe on 20 shots.
But like just in general, because I was looking on FanDuel, they have a Bronny sweepstakes of just like a ton of Bronny parlays and just things you can make overall. And one of them was on Bronny's career high or season high and being 20 points, 29 or 19 and a half points. And the over under was it was even.
See, there's a world this whole Lakers, LeBron, Bronny James, JJ Redick thing just is a train wreck this year. And wouldn't you just hate to see it?
Well, you say that, I would hate to see it, but I think that going along with Memphis and not in the same way, the Lakers are just a really hard team to gauge overall, I think, about how what their success is going to look like. Doing what they're doing with the coach and what they're doing, Bronny does not yet. If we're talking about the overall Lakers success, Bronny, who they take with that 55th pick does not matter. So I'm not too hung over the fact of that's happening. What you're doing is you're making LeBron happy, you're making your best player happy in this situation. And to an extent, maybe that's the most important thing right now for this team is that making Max Christie happy. And I know what I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, but just overall. And like taking a risk with JJ is something that, like you said, could go way off the wire, but at the same time, it could be something that I could see being a risk that takes off and does succeed because he is a great basketball mind. He is someone that can sometimes, maybe you think this
No, I
Lakers
mean,
team
definitely a smart player.
definitely a smart, hardworking
Yeah.
player. Yeah.
I will say what I've noticed about the Lakers in the preseason is their offense is a lot better, especially with their actual players out there. A lot of this time has been spent just watching Bronny and the Three Stooges run around out there. Um, no hate to all those guys, but
We'll call Dalton Connect the Three Stooges. Dalton
okay,
Connect,
no,
that boy a hooper.
Dalton Connect is the exception.
He's a,
I feel like we've seen a lot of minutes out there though with Bronny and just other nobodies kind of, just running around out there. But from, in the first half, we can tell that the Lakers have some semblance of like identity and offense and, everyone's trying a lot harder. People are actually setting screens for each other, that sort of thing. And I think that just didn't happen a lot with them last year. And, their offense, their games are really hard to watch sometimes. So
Yeah. I think Dalton Connect will be big for their team. I'll have something to say about him later. Not to tease something that I think,
oh, for
but
sure. I was gonna say something about him too, man. He went crazy. He went absolutely crazy. Okay. I think honestly, this we were just talking about the Lakers, so why don't we just go into Dalton Connect? Like like pause first of all. But I think Dalton Connect will crack the rotation this year. And what he did against the Suns was extremely impressive, and he was the reason they won that game. And I think JJ Redick, him keeping him in the game, kind of proves how just excited he is as a coach to kind of have him as part of the team. And he's a knockdown shooter, perfect player for next to LeBron. I can honestly see him starting some games. I'm really excited to see what they do.
yeah,
I think it tells a lot about JJ as well as a coach
yeah,
doing what he did in that situation, whether that be for better or worse. Like it obviously worked out. I'm not saying that what he did makes him a genius or anything, but it definitely shows a lot about what he's willing to do as a coach. And that's not to just do what a lot of Lakers fans and Darvin Ham and a lot of
yeah.
other coaches have done in the past. So more so just not making adjustments and that's kind of been, I think, a lot of that's been their downside in a lot of games this season. And they're just not making adjustments. And you literally see Darvin Ham sitting there with his hands in his pockets.
Right.
What a lot of coaches would go into a preseason game like that and have a full out plan designed about what they want to do versus from what they want to see and what they're going to do based on how the game goes and everything like that. That tells a lot about JJ being like, I did want to see this player get this many minutes because they might be playing a lot in this situation. Who was he in for? Was it Rui? Who was he playing over?
Rui is Rui.
And I think it was Rui. It's like that tells a lot about a coach to sit your future starter in a game like that towards the end of the game where because you want to let the rookie keep the hot hand going. And whether you want to say that that's a good or a bad decision, it's a decision that wasn't being made at all in previous years.
Well, I think the good thing is maybe with JJ being like buddies with LeBron and LeBron trusting him, maybe for the first time in a long time, LeBron's not his own coach.
Yeah.
Like actually letting someone else make some decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Dalton Connect will be a starter pretty early on. I think him and JJ are match made and have a knockdown shooter, really like smart basketball IQ kind of guy, moves the ball well, gritty player, good defense.
Yeah, and he's just tough, man. He's a dog.
Yeah.
He's mature already. Like he obviously
Right.
fits into the NBA kind of game. So he really was like a perfect pickup for them, a win now kind of guy. So
Yeah, he's a high motor kind of guy, not going to be lazy, not going to give up on a play.
Yeah,
exactly. You can tell, and I like what Connor was talking about with JJ leaving him in because you can tell that Dalton wanted to win that game, and you could tell JJ wanted to win that game by leaving him in, leaving the hot hand in. So I think, people can say it's just a preseason game, but that's against I guess pseudo kind of recent rival in the Suns.
Right.
they're going to be battling for playoff spots against each other. I'm sure of it. So I think that kind of just sets the tone for the season with their last game there. So I thought it was, I think that game kind of, you should be excited as a Lakers fan after seeing that.
Yeah, and you'd see Connect when he was at Tennessee, very mature, very. They would get down to the end of the game, and he's the guy you wanted to have the ball in your
He felt
hands.
so safe
Yeah,
with him and with the Rock. 'Cause
not going to make a dumb mistake.
exactly. I mean, he might not make the shot, but you know he's going to make the right play.
Right, he'll be in the right spot.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And that's exactly what the Lakers need right now is someone who's going to space the
right.
floor better.
I think a lot of the
give them
Lakers'
better
problem was a
shooting.
lot of
Yeah.
just not playing very hard a lot of times. And
You know where the Lakers,
Laziness,
you know where the Lakers ranked in the NBA last season in field goal attempts or 3-point field goal attempts per game.
not
I
sure.
think it was last place.
At last. Someone like Dolan Connect coming in there that's going to get up
Yeah.
8, 9 threes a game. Like that's something that's something that they need, and it was an absolute steal of a pick. I mean, the fact that he fell all the way to them was just a match made in heaven, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I am excited to see what he's going to do this year. I don't think he's going to start right away, but
But kind of like the Thunder discussion, I think as the season goes, your starters in April are different than your starters in November.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, some of those shots he was hitting in Phoenix were just nuts. Like all of them were over bull or at least contested. Like just imagine a pass from Braun after drawing all the defense and he's wide
Right.
open,
I mean,
that
you'd see that
shot
in Tennessee when he had no help. They'd switch on the screen and he'd make it over the center. That was,
yeah,
he was his thing.
he's done it. He's 23. He's been playing basketball for a long time, a lot longer
Right.
than all the other rookies. He's ready to play right now, and that's something that the Lakers were wanting with their last couple of years that they have of prime AD and a soon to retire LeBron is a rookie that's can come in and help them right away, not someone who's gonna
Yep.
who they're gonna sit back and develop like a Max Christie of that sort. And we saw what he really did for the team last year. Not like he's a bad player or anything, but not someone that right now fits the mold of this team currently. So.
right. And Lakers, it was huge for them to get him in the draft as well because their free agency was nothing special. I mean, their free agency last year was better than this year's. They still have Gabe Vincent and Jackson Hayes and all the other guys they got, but I think Dalton Connect is just huge for them. Honestly, like
I mean,
that's their biggest
their biggest
biggest
loss
summer
is
move right
acquisition
there.
of coach. That's saying something too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's Connor, anything else? What should be our next preseason discussion topic here?
Well, we could finish it off with one thing I wanted to just kind of give a little shout out to is Lonzo Ball making his return to
Oh yeah.
basketball. Been out for
Yeah.
over 1,000 days, and he came back and looked good. I mean, he didn't play a ton of minutes because none of the starters did on that Bulls team, but their pacing looked amazing. He's one of the best transition basketball players that there is. His passing is great. He comes out there first play and they drew something up, or what's his name? Billy Donovan draws up a play for Lonzo like right off the bat, drills the three. His form looks great, looks smooth.
Nice.
It's gotta feel so good to see that go down. And
Right.
after all that time, and I'm not saying the Bulls are gonna do good as we'll get into like the predictions and everything here in a second. I'm not saying that they're gonna be out here competing, but it's just good overall for that organization and for that fan base to see him be back, and it obviously just great for him as well. I mean, I've always been a ball lover fan, no
Right.
pause, but you know, I've always liked their family, and obviously I love LaMelo, so rooting for him, and I'm glad to see him come back. And I think that Bulls team, um, they might not be good, but they're not going to win a lot of basketball games, but they're going to be a fun team to watch. And if you're going to be bad, you at least might as well be bad and entertaining. Not bad going on with a slow pace. I mean, I've been watching the Hornets for a long time. They're a fun team. They're bad. If they were a bad team and weren't fun like the Pistons, I wouldn't watch any games.
I was just gonna say that's what makes the Pistons pretty unwatchable.
I
They're
mean,
bad and most nights not fun.
Yeah.
and at least the Bulls have something to look forward to, and players like him,
Right.
giving them a little bit more viewership.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Hopefully Lonzo can kind of resume his prime again because I would say 2022 was the season where the Bulls were, they were number one seed for a little bit there. So that was they were legit contenders for solid like 3 months until Ball went down. Then it kind of
Everything.
just went downhill after that. But I wish the best for him and I hope that, with a point guard like him, Matas Buzelis and all these other young guys that the Bulls have can kind of kick it off, and maybe they can have a little two-man game with Lonzo and then maybe Josh Giddey can run the second unit, something like that. So, uh, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I guess,
I'm just
uh,
kidding.
Should
Coach,
we oh,
do
what
you,
was your thing?
I was just gonna say, see if Coach had anything else before I just kind of rapid fire off some other things I noticed, and then we don't have to get into deep discussion with any of those. But, um, Coach, did you have anything else you wanted to highlight?
Nothing too big about the preseason. I think the only offseason thing we really didn't touch on a ton was the whole cat trade in New York with them sending back Julius Randle and DiVincenzo.
Mm,
Yeah, that works out for both sides. I
right.
think I think the Timberwolves are probably more of a championship contender than the Knicks are. I think the Knicks kind of made themselves better, but I still don't see a way they really break into that big two or big three, depending on how much you believe in the Sixers in the East.
Yeah, I think Cat to New York was, I don't know, man. I think they lose a lot of rebounding with that because they also lost Hartenstein. So
I agree.
I
I'm
think
a big
I
fan of Hartenstein. I don't know. I'm assuming Mitchell Robinson's probably their starting center now.
Yeah, probably. And I don't know if they're gonna try to emulate what Minnesota did with Mitch and Cat
Yeah.
out there, but Mitch is no Rudy Gobert, and I know all of us love to shit on Rudy Gobert a lot, but bro's a defensive player of the year 4 times for a reason. So um yeah, we'll see. I think Minnesota, Julius Randle next to Gobert, I don't know how that's gonna work. I mean, we've seen one preseason game of them together, and it was just kind of it's not a full game. So I guess we'll have to wait a weekend to kind of see how this stuff's going to play out. But I don't
I
know. I
agree.
think
I don't know
it's,
how that's gonna work, but I do think having DiVincenzo as a knockdown shooter on the wing is something the Timberwolves needed.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
And like,
Nikhil
no,
Alexander Walker wasn't doing it.
no, and you can still start him next to Jaden McDaniels. Defensively, I think they'll still be a very sound team.
Yeah, DiVincenzo's a dog. He's
Yeah.
he's he's a dog on both sides, and he's a great shooter, and it looks like he's going to take a jump too with maybe an extended opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, he shoots a lot of threes a game, but makes a lot of threes a game. I think he's one of the better shooting guards in the league.
Right. I totally agree. And I think this kind of leads into Ant as well. Ant will be their starting shooting guard. And I think DiVincenzo is going to come off the bench. I saw that he had a decent chance to win six man of the year. So that's just why I'm thinking he's coming off the bench. But um,
Right.
Ant-Man was
And you could play a little offense defense with him and Jaden McDaniels. So
right, right. And Ant-Man was looking like he's just looking like he's going to come different this year. And I think that he's going to take the Timberwolves to honestly another level, but with Julius Randle now, it might be a little bit rocky off the start. So we'll see how they end up.
yeah, I agree. I think it was still overall a good move for them because I think the addition of DiVincenzo is greater than what they're losing by losing Cat adding Randall, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Isn't that positive?
I think Cat is a better player than Randall, but Randall's no slouch either. He'll help out for sure.
Right. And I think the addition of DiVincenzo still makes it a net positive for him.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So, all right, cool, interesting. And I think just shout out Russell Westbrook on the Nuggets now. I think he's a perfect match next to Jokic, to be honest. They just need to have enough shooting surrounding them.
Yep.
But yeah, now we can get into our standing predictions.
You want to start with standings or you want to start with awards or what do you want to start with?
I say we do standings first, and then we'll
Okay.
do rewards after. So, what conference do you guys want to start with? Do you want to say, let's just do East first. I think East
Yeah.
is easier.
Okay.
So, who did you guys have coming in last place?
Okay. Also, I want to ask real quick, let's make sure we're like giving a little bit of reasoning. And
Sure.
we don't have to all touch on every single one of our picks, but at least we talk about every team a little bit, as we're
Yeah, yeah,
going.
yeah.
Because obviously we're gonna have a lot of teams that are like kind of close to each other or whatever, but as long as we kind of touch on the team overall a little bit,
Sure.
I think that's beneficial. So I'll start off. I have the Nets ending in last in the East. I have Brooklyn.
Okay, okay. And I have the Nets pretty down low there, but they're not last. But why do you think they're going to be last?
Well, I think that just I'm not a believer in the Ben Simmons situation. I think that they're going to be one of those teams like we said earlier about not good but somewhat exciting. Cam Thomas is just an electric offensive player who will average maybe an assist a game if he's lucky. But he's out there. He just plays that no never swing the rock type.
ISO ball.
Yeah, ISO ball, and just he's a fun guy to watch. But what do they really have there?
Not a Nick Claxton guy.
Yeah, not a big Nick Claxton guy. They traded. They're all in on the rebuild, all in on the Cooper Flag, sweepstakes. And this could have been a toss-up. I think them and the Wizards kind of both are really close for that last spot. It was just a matter of, I trust a little bit, I guess, a little bit more players on the Wizards, and I think they have a little bit higher of an upside. I think their floor is a little bit higher. But overall, I could have seen both of them being at the bottom. I don't think there's a lot to talk about. I think they're kind of all in on Tank and you know, with a very stacked draft class, looking to grow there. So
Totally. I'm not mad that you put them last. What about you, Coach? What'd you got? Who'd you have in last?
As much as it kind of pains me to say, I got the Pistons in last until they can prove.
Again, okay.
I mean, they were terrible last year. I know they added Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway in the offseason, which is something, but I just think that their core, I don't think they've really established any kind of core yet. And I think it'll be interesting to see by the trade deadline if they decide they're still going to ride with Cade and Ivy next to each other, if they're going to get rid of one of them, probably being Jaden Ivey, I would think.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the way they've constructed their team with, Asar Thompson and Duran and Isaiah Stewart, you have all these guys that just are not very good shooters.
Yeah, facts. And I think that's one thing.
NBA, that's not really how you win.
you think they're going to be worse than the Nets and the Wizards, though?
I think that part of the problem is I think most of the guys in that team have never really won in the NBA, and I think that you kind of need to know how to be winners. I think they're so used to being losers.
I agree. The only my disargument with that is, I think out of all three of those teams,
I think it's a
those
toxic
I had those as my bottom three as well, and I got a feeling you didn't, Caleb, but you might have.
We'll see.
We'll see. I think they're the bottom three teams for sure, in my opinion. But I think that you have the best player out of all the teams on the Pistons in Cade Cunningham, and I think that's kind of my only debate there. Like I said, it's a toss up, but I don't see any reasoning as to why you'd put the Pistons lower than one of the two. And that's besides that they wouldn't also agree that those reasonings wouldn't also apply to a Wizards or a Nets. But who was your 15, Caleb?
My 15 was the Wizards, and they added Alex Sarr, but he's going to be an extremely just raw player coming into the league, and
project.
Yeah, exactly, a project player. And when you got Jordan Poole, and what's his nuts, Kyle Kuzma running your team, that just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
We lost Denny.
And no more Denny. Like Coach was saying, I don't think they've really settled on a core yet. They've obviously settled on this core of Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, but that's just not a good core to have. And I think that the Pistons have made good moves coaching wise and free agent signing wise, just in order to get a little bit better than Wizards. So that's
Poole might kind of go back to our earlier comp of Javi Baez. I think that might be that kind of offseason signing. I think it's one of those guys that was good and young on a team that was already really good. But in terms of doing it by himself, I'm not sure he's really got it in him.
Yeah. Yeah. But so we can go on to number 14 now. I had the Nets there, and for obvious reasons.
And I had the Wizards.
And I had the Wizards as well.
So we kind of all touched on all those. So we can move on to what was your 13?
My 13 was my true Detroit Pistons. It's better than last. And I think that, like Connor was saying with the floor, I just don't think their floor is last again. I've noticed in preseason.
The floor is definitely last. I would say their ceiling is just higher than I think
their middle ground is not last place. Like
I agree with you.
Or I don't even know if that made sense, but
I'm just more of a pessimistic fan in a way. I agree with what you're saying, like not disagreeing with anything you're saying, but I think that just generically looking at it,
I think on paper, yeah, but I just want to see it because they've been so bad the last.
No, I agree. I agree. I can understand where you're coming from. That's what I'm saying, but
yeah. Expect disappointment. You'll never be disappointed, right, Coach?
Exactly.
Detroit sports.
But yeah, I think we'll touch on this when we talk about the Pistons later. The things I've noticed in preseason, this is a completely different team. And I'm not saying that they did a complete 180. I'm just saying that, they've turned the dial in the right direction. And there's an identity there, a defensive one with JB Bickerstaff. And I like what I'm seeing. And I just know that I don't want them to get last. So I'm putting them there.
I also had the Pistons at 13.
That's valid.
You know, like I said, I already touched on them, so I'm gonna go too deep, and we're gonna talk about it more recently. I just think a good question to ask ourselves is what we really, in terms of the Pistons, is is that would you be happy with that if you as Pistons fans would you be happy with 13th
I'd
or
be
would it
happy
matter
just going.
how?
I'd be happy with anything above where we were last year. We can only go up from here. And I don't care how far we go up. I'm just happy we're going up. And I just want to see these young guys get some more wins under their belt and just really learn how to win and really buy into this program and what we're trying to do. And I just hope JB Bickerstaff is here for the long haul and what he's trying to do is works.
I think I'm more concerned with individual player performances and team like performance, even in the wins and losses in some ways. Does Cade take that next step? How does Ron Holland look? Does Ivy get better? Just how does Ashur Thompson get better? Yeah.
Because Duran is a great player. He's just is like he's also kind of raw, pretty young, who definitely needs to make a lot of improvements as well. And I think he's someone that could.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Who was your 13?
Much to Connor's dismay, my 13 is the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not as much a believer as him.
Wow.
I don't know.
He said she boy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of reason to believe they got a ton better this offseason.
It is what it is.
I think that's very fair. I had them as my 12.
Yeah.
And just I think we all understand how great LaMelo is, but how often has that man been healthy? And
No, I get that. I get that. I get that.
And I think
Miller's a darn good player, but aside from that,
right. And I think, looking at their roster, their depth outside of B-Mill, Miles, and LaMelo just isn't really eye-turning.
Mark Williams' names too, though. I mean, he genuinely is but again, we go back to the health thing. And that's kind of what I was going to touch on when we talk about it more earlier or more later. But if the players if Mark Williams and LaMelo stay healthy for say if they play 60 to 65 games apiece in an 82 game season, that team will be at least a play-in team. Like they will be, but that's the only problem is I can understand the argument is they haven't been yet in their career. LaMelo has played over 65 games once so far in his career, and they made the play-in that first year.
Yeah.
And every other year he's been injured, and this has been what's kind of happened. So, they have fired their medical staff, their medical and training staff, and they've hired elsewhere. Having a new head coach that has in a new GM. There's just a whole new culture that's being built in Charlotte right now. Brandon Miller showed just absolute insane sparks of being a future star, and I think he has a very good chance of being an all-star this year with the type of numbers that he's capable of putting up. Where we normally see that big jump from a year one to a year two player, I think you're going to see out of Brandon Miller this year. We've seen LaMelo Ball be an all-star in a year that the only year he's played all the games that he's played, or all the games that can make him eligible to be there. And then obviously Miles Bridges is a plus player. Mark Williams is a plus player. Josh Green is going to be a good, 6-man type player. But then you got Trey Mann that no one's talking about, who has been absolutely balling this preseason and overall and genuinely looks really good. They just passed on him at the 6 p.m. deadline for an extension. And, he's playing for a contract this year. And when you got a player like that has that type of motivation, that definitely makes a difference. And I just think overall, we talked about earlier, the Grizzlies, the Lakers as teams that are hard to gauge. I think the Hornets are just one of those teams strictly based on injury status can be here to here. And we'll talk more about it when we talk more about the Hornets. I don't want to talk about them forever, but I definitely have them higher than that. I think that their roster overall is better than at least 5 to 6 teams in the East.
All right, man. All right, man. Valid. I'll respect the take. I'm curious who y'all had at 12 then.
My 12 was the Bulls.
Ooh, okay.
My 12 was the Bulls. The Bulls, are, like I was saying earlier, they're going to be a fun team. They're not going to win a lot of games. That is not a good team. They last year they barely squeaked into the play-in as when they had Zach LaVine, who was playing most of the season. They were the most clutch team in basketball when it came to um like clutch points. So, fourth quarter under 2 minutes when the game was on the line. They were number one team in basketball. And DeMar DeRozan was the number one clutch player in basketball last year, who is now not on the team anymore. And he's moved on. They have obviously made their trade with Caruso. He's gone, who was a big part of getting wins in a lot of those close games. They've made the full, I think, move to. They're in a similar situation as the Hornets in terms of they're gonna have to make a decision at around the trade deadline / All-Star break if they want to tank for the Cooper Flag sweepstakes or if they want to actually compete and try and win. And I think we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think I had the Bulls higher, and I definitely think the Bulls are a team that's going to try to win. They have a lot of role players that don't really get talked about too much, and I think Lonzo being back is going to be huge for them. But we'll get into that later. Coach, who do you have at 12?
I got the Nets. I don't know. We already kind of touched on them.
Oh yeah, right, right, right.
Yeah. I do think with those bottom four teams, the Nets, Hornets, Wizards, Pistons, they could finish in any order, in my opinion. But let's
Fair
just start
enough.
picking it up.
Let's hope the Hornets get last.
Oh, I don't want them to get Cooper Flag. Maybe they can, if they come in last and don't win the lottery, that's fine by me.
Right, right. Pistons know all about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move into number 11 then. Coach, who do you have there?
I got the Atlanta Hawks.
All right. I like that. I like that
I,
placement for them.
I like Trae Young on their team. I don't like a ton else about their team.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with Murray.
Yeah.
I think they got to change up their coach because whatever they're doing isn't working. And
Yeah.
DeJounte Murray and Trey were just not, no, they weren't it.
You kind of wonder if it's a situation that obviously Trae Young's a very good player. It's one of those where I kind of wonder how long he wants to be in Atlanta long term.
Right. Right. And
That's,
I
I
think,
think
I think
his
that's,
time, he's not getting any younger. Not saying he's old, but I don't really see a way Atlanta's a winning team. I could see them getting worse before they get better.
yeah, it's kind of insane how they've failed to build around him as well. You would think it's not that difficult, but just surround him with a bunch of defenders. But then again, he has the ball in his hands so much, then the other guys can't really do all that much. And I think DeJounte Murray taking those valuable touches away from him for his fadeaway contested middies all the time. I don't think, you know,
Right.
I sure they made the playoffs, took a game against Boston, but really, like, not how you build a team. Connor, how about you?
My 11 was the Toronto Raptors. It's again very similar to I think you were talking more so you were grouping those bottom four teams as in the Nets, Wizards, Pistons, and Hornets. I think it's more so a Pistons, Wizards, Nets, and then you put the Bulls, Raptors, Hornets, and Hawks. I think in a very similar situation of a teams that could very well be at the bottom of the standings at the end of the season, but also in in the plan. And I think that you know the Raptors having Scotty Barnes is one of those teams. It's a lot like LaMelo Ball and a lot like Trae Young with the Hawks. They have a guy, an all-star, caliber guy that can will them to a playing game and possibly a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And but they also are very young and they're still rebuilding. Um, and still new staff, everything like that. They're one of those teams where you could see him being up top, you can see him being low, but I am really excited to watch the continuous improvement of Scotty Barnes. Um, and he's a very exciting player, and I think that he just kind of overall lifts their ceiling a little bit.
Right. And I had the Raptors here as well. And I think that they are kind of reaching this state of purgatory with a couple vets, and then they have all these young guys that kind of need to work it out. The Pistons were there for a really long time, 30 win seasons, 35 win seasons, you name it. I think
Reggie Jackson Day.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I just think that the Raptors are kind of stuck in this state where, yes, Scotty Barnes is getting better. He can will you to win, 30 games a season, but is that really what you need? And they're kind of just, they've got Gary Trent, who's not the most, um, I guess, best, pseudo star player to have next to Scotty Barnes, and they've got Bruce Brown. He's got, he's a good vet, but Raptors they're just, I can't say they're better than the teams that I have above them. So
Got that.
Yeah. I'll start off with my number 10. So my team barely making the play-in is going to be the Hawks. And I think very much similar to you guys. I'd say all the same things. Trey Young, he's going to will him to the play-in, but it's just going to be another wasted season for him, I think. They're stuck in purgatory, just like the Raptors there.
I like it. My 10 is the Hornets. I think they can squeak into a play-in spot. I can see them ranging anywhere, honestly from 9 to 13. Um, I think that they're not going to be worse than the Wizards and Nets for sure. I can almost positively say that. But
Yeah,
at the same that roster overall is just a ton better than the other two. And they have a playoff caliber roster. They just don't they not a competitive playoff caliber roster, but they have a playoff caliber roster. It's just a matter if they're going to be able to stay healthy or not. And like I said, with a couple of these other teams, they're going to be one of those teams that will, by the All-Star break, we're going to have to know what they're going to want to do. Are they going to make that attempt to continue to to build towards a run, or are they going to try and fall down and go into a loaded draft class? And we'll see. I think that I would be okay with them ending in that 10 seed spot. Like I'd be happy with it because I'm interested in them changing their culture. I think that, getting their new GM, Jeff Peterson, and head coach. And, I think that in Charles Lee, I think that um, people want to win and they're expecting wins now at this point. And like they are in purgatory as well, but I think that their purgatory is a little bit different because they haven't really been having success due to their injuries, and they know what they're capable of. And we'll just have to see if they're able to maximize it and stay healthy.
I will say there's a lot of ifs with the Hornets. I really like your point that they're not going to be competitive in the playoffs. I do think they could. Eh, I don't think they could make it out of the play-in, but just because of their depth, they just need more depth. Maybe they make a good trade or something that involves, Grant Williams and maybe Miles or something like
That's
that.
something that comes along with these standing predictions in the first place is there are so many things that we have no idea that are going to happen. Like the Sixers, who would have thought Joel Embiid was going to get hurt and they were going to fall from what was the best team in basketball for a while to a 7 seed? Who knew that the Pacers, who were a team that were sitting right outside the plane, were going to make a trade for Pascal Siakam and end as the second in the Western Conference at the end of the season, or sorry, Eastern. Excuse me. And there's a lot of these things we have no idea. Everything's kind of so many little things are going to happen that we're all going to be wrong. None of us are going to get these completely right, but
Yeah. Imagine we did though. That'd be sick. But yeah, that's enough about the Hornets, man. I like that you're optimistic about them though. I'm just not the same about my team.
I get it. I mean, we have two very different caliber teams. One of us has, act, one of us didn't lose 28 straight games, so I think that's
Yeah.
something. But
Yeah. You didn't have Monty Williams.
we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Who's your 10?
I got the Bulls at 10. I'm a little higher on him than Connor was, but not a ton higher than him. I think the last plan is probably gonna be a fight between the Bulls, Hawks, and Raptors. Well, sorry to spoil it, but I have the Raptors at 9. I think they're kind of all in the same tier.
I agree.
Yeah, I guess to move right into 9, I had the Bulls at 9. I just think Lonzo being back and more time for the other guys to shine, especially some of their really solid role players, might propel them up to that 9 spot. And I think yeah, it's all going to depend on Lonzo if he stays healthy. Maybe Josh Giddey takes a jump on a new team. I could tell that even out of his personal life, just his game in OKC just kind of dwindled. So maybe this is a fresh start for him. So that's why I put the Bulls that high. But I totally agree with all of you. Raptors, Hawks, Bulls, um, those three anywhere.
You're missing one.
Okay, the Hornets too.
I mean, if we're talking based off just overall projected win totals in from Vegas too, like they are also projecting them being the same. I think the Hornets have a higher or just as high projected win total as all those teams. I'm just saying. Like if they're in the same, but yeah,
He
I
said, "I'm
agree.
just saying. I'm just saying."
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
There you
mean,
go.
I think the fan throws the whole bank account on it. It kind of sways the odds, but no one else is betting on that
One
anyways.
optimistic.
Right. Okay. All right. Connor, who was your 9?
My 9 was the Hawks. So
Yeah.
continuing what we were talking about. I
Fair
think
enough.
out of all the teams out of all those teams we were talking about, the best player so far on any of these
Yeah,
teams
that's
is
Trae
Trae
Young for
Young, and
sure.
that's why I have them the highest.
Right.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Zach LaVine did look pretty dangerous though in his in his preseason debut this year. He looked pretty solid, I will say.
Zach LaVine is a good player. He is one of those only players that went from overrated to underrated very quickly. I will say that.
Overrated to underrated?
I think he went from overrated to underrated last season very quickly.
Oh,
And
okay, gotcha.
I think he used to be very overrated, and out of nowhere, everyone started hating on him a ton. And now I would say he's a very underrated player, but he's not. He's not as good as Trae Young.
Oh
Trae Young
yeah,
was.
exactly. I'm just saying he's a guy that people are
I
gonna.
don't think he's better than LaMelo. I don't think he's better than Scotty.
Yeah, that's fair. He's a very one-dimensional offensive player, and I totally get that. The other guys have a lot more to their game, but he's such an electrifying scorer that I think, Bulls could squeak out a couple extra games ahead of those other teams. But anyway, if we go into the 8 seed now, I think this is pretty interchangeable with these next three teams I got, but I put the Heat here. They do the same shit every year. Um, so I think it's a pretty easy pick to put them here. They're gonna get injuries. Jimmy Butler's gonna start off slow. Tyler Hero's probably gonna get hurt along with Terry Rozier. Um, but they'll find a way. They'll get in, and they're gonna probably make it out of the play-in and scare one of those top teams in the East.
I also have the Heat at 8. I think, like what we said. Jimmy Butler is what I will say about this season is Jimmy Butler does seem to be caring a little bit more. Hopefully in the regular season, he's this is his last year of his deal. He is playing for probably that final contract that he's probably going to get in his career.
Mhm.
Probably that big money, whether that is staying with the Heat or going to a new team. That's definitely going to be something to propel his play a little bit. Obviously Terry Rozier is a great player. Obviously Bam has a chance to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. He's a great player as well. I think they'll be a playoff team. I think they're going to. I like the 8 seed, and I think that they could be the 7 or 6 as well. I'm a little bit higher on them than I think a lot of people are,
Yeah,
but I am like the
I
8
think
because it's a little too hard for me to put them over some other teams.
yeah, for sure. Once you start talking about the other teams, that's where it gets difficult. I could maybe put them over the Cavs, who I have next, but Jaime Jaquez and Jovic are going to be important for them too. They're important pieces going forward. So maybe that propels them over the Cavs, but I still think the Cavs are a better team. How about you, Coach? Who you got at 8?
I had a little bit off. I had the Magic at 8, but I did have the Heat at 7, so pretty close to the rest of you guys.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit more a believer. I mean, I think it'll come down to a game or two between the two of them. I don't think it'll make a huge difference.
So
I
the
think
Heat and who?
I have the Magic at 8 and the Heat at 7.
Okay.
I think the winner of that is just kind of pick your poison with the Bucks and Celtics. So you're staring down in the first round. So it's kind of, I'm not sure how big a difference it makes. I do have the Magic and Heat at 7 and 8, probably separate by a game or so.
I also have Magic at 7 if it matters.
Mm.
So we
I,
don't have to talk
But I think we probably both agree that it's probably a game or two it separates them. It's probably not a
I would have, yeah, definitely. And I honestly think that my next team at 6 also is in that same tier. We'll get to that in a second. But Paolo is one of the players that I expect to make one of the biggest jumps in the entire NBA this year. He is such a great player. This is where you really start to see that jump from a second-year player to a third-year player, where you can see him being not just an all-star, but playing at an all-NBA type level. And I do expect that type of jump out of him. And I'm really excited to see what he does. There are just a lot of really good teams that you could kind of bunch in to the same area like we were talking about. So I'll put them for now at the 7.
yeah, I totally agree, and I think all of their guys are like prone to make jumps this year. So I think the Magic are gonna kind of explode here, which is exciting. They're also a fun team to watch too. They have so many young guys that are like finally entering their prime. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen.
Wendell, Franz.
No.
Yeah, Wendell's been in his prime. Uh, okay. So I at 7, I had the Cavs. I think them losing their coach was huge. And I think it was kind of a sudden firing. And I think that's just going to kind of, they didn't necessarily do anything to get better. And I think the other teams just have a higher ceiling than they do right now. And them losing their coach was kind of big. So we'll see what they can do. But I think I was comfortable putting them at 7.
I think that's pretty low. I think you can argue the Cavs could be all the way up to 3. I don't have them that high, but I think the Cavs won 50 games last year, and they didn't have Donovan Mitchell for not even like 55 games. And him coming back healthy, the emergence of Evan Mobley last year was big, and he's just going to get better. Darius Garland is just getting better. And then I think Donovan Mitchell is an all-star starter type player. I mean, he was playing MVP level last year until he got hurt. And even without him for all of those games, and without Mobley for all those games, and without Jared Allen for a ton of games, they still ended in what, the fourth seed by a game or something. I could see them. I think they're going to be higher than that. But like I said, I understand, it's all kind of toss-ups. But
Right, exactly. I mean, I just kind of had to go with something different. I think the other teams I'm looking at here are just, more of I just trust them more than the Cavs at this point. But I think all the points you make are pretty valid.
So 6 for me is the Pacers.
Oh, that's low.
I get it. They were the 6th seed last year. I have the Cavs at 5, so just barely ahead of them. I honestly think that the Cavs, Magic, and Pacers are all going to be really close. I think that the Magic honestly might be a little bit. I think the space is smaller between the Cavs and the Magic than I do between the Magic and the Heat, to an extent. But I think it's all going to be really close. Yeah, I mean, nothing that I don't like about the Pacers. I really like everything. I mean, they were really good. Obviously, Pascal was a huge move for them. Young players like Andrew Nemhard, who have made a great emergence, are going to be important this year, and getting them to a higher seed than they probably want to be.
We talking about the Pacers?
Yeah, we just finished up our 6. We were talking about our 5 now.
All right, yeah, cool. I agree with everything you said, Connor. I had the Pacers at 6 as well.
Okay.
5. I had the 76ers.
Okay. I was debating putting the 76ers at 5. They're my 4, but yeah, I have Cavs at 5.
Okay. And I have the Pacers at 5. I think we've already talked about the Pacers and Cavs probably enough.
Yeah, I think Sixers just being at 5, you never know with a new star coming in PG. You never really know how that's going to work out. I think it was kind of rough with Harden, Maxey, and Joel Embiid all trying to work it out. So, especially with Joel Embiid not playing back-to-backs, that takes off like maybe 20 games of him this season. And plus, you never know if he's going to stay healthy as well. So, I think 5. I think, and they ended up at 7 last year. So, Joel gets hurt every year. I think PG and Maxey kind of keeps them up to that 5 mark.
Yeah, I think it's smart to put them maybe it isn't, just not in the top 3, just considering they have one of the most talented rosters in the East, but in terms of just overall star power with those 3. But yeah, PG's already hurt. He's already given his time at the beginning of the season, they've announced. And obviously Embiid coming out saying that he's not playing back-to-back games ever again in his career, because he wants to be healthy for the playoffs. I don't think that they're too worried about getting a top 3 seed, and more so just having all their guys ready at the very end when April does come around and June comes around. And so for that reason, I have them at 4.
That's fair enough.
Yep, I agree with what you're saying. Team we talked about earlier that I have at 4 is the Knicks. I just think the Sixers, I know it's an interesting point you made about Embiid not playing in those games. I do think that is fair to say that maybe the Knicks will finish ahead of the Sixers in the standings. In terms of the best teams, though, I do think the Sixers are a little bit better than the Knicks when they're all at their full. It'll be interesting to see how Cat meshes with the rest of their team, too. And obviously, not having DiVincenzo, how that goes.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I think that is interesting to have the Knicks down at 4. I definitely think their team improved, so I had them finishing higher than what they ended up at. Well, no, I had them at the
same.
Yeah, I have the Sixers at 3. I think they're kind of interchangeable at 3 and 4.
Fair enough. Let's see, who did I have at 4? I had the Bucks at 4.
Okay.
And they didn't do enough this offseason to kind of tell me that they're going to do better or the same as 3.
Wait. Who did you have at 3?
I have the Magic at 3.
Okay.
Wow. That's
my super hot take.
I like that pick. I really do. I mean, like I said, we talked about like I said, none of us are going to be right. And we talked about all those teams. In my opinion, I think you throw from the 76ers to the 4, in my opinion, down to the 8 Heat. Those teams of the 76ers, Cavs, Pacers, Magic, Heat. I think any of those could be in any order. And you just got to pick your poison. And I like that. I think that's a ballsy pick. You're thinking big stuff out of Paolo?
Big stuff out of Paolo and just the rest of the team in general. I mean, Franz and Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz. I mean, they still got everybody, dude. And I think, just their team's taking a jump every year. And I think this might be their kind of, this might be their kind of year where they have a really good regular season, but I could so see them being bounced out first round by whoever's 6. So
yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of the vibes they're giving off to me because they're still very young. They have a year of playoff under them, but I think regular season wise, they're going to be a very, very, very tough opponent, and I think they're going to be good. So
I like it. I have the Bucks at 3,
and I think that's fair. I also think that's fair.
Yeah, and you had the Bucks at 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think personally that the top 3 teams in the Knicks, Bucks, and Celtics are going to be a lot closer than people think. I do think that, another year of Dame getting more meshed with the Bucks, another year of Doc being the head, and a full year of him being the head coach and doing a lot more than he wanted to in the offseason, and a year with a healthier Giannis, I think overall is going to make them good. I don't think that they're going to be better than the Knicks, so I have it 2. But I do think that they're going to be a legitimate contender. So that's why I'll put them. We already know about Giannis. We already know about Middleton. We already know about Dame. We know who they are. I don't think we have to go too much into that. But overall, very good team. I like them at 3.
Yeah, fair enough. Who you got, Coach?
I had this. I already said I think that I had the Sixers at 3, but then I actually have the Celtics at 2. And the Bucks at 1. I think that the reason I have the Bucks above the Celtics is, honestly, I think last year if the Bucks stay healthy, they win the championship. I think that I'm a big believer in Dame, especially with another year. I'll give away right now that I think Giannis is going to be the MVP. I think this is kind of being a revenge tour of such for the Bucks. I think last year they got injured just at the very wrong time in the playoffs. I think if they can stay healthy, that they're as good as anybody in the whole NBA.
Yeah, they literally had Chris Middleton against the world out there. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah, he was balling though. Yeah, he was balling. Chris was balling.
But I love. We all, both of us got some ballsy picks in there, so I like it.
I mean, even saw that game 1 last year before Lillard got hurt. He had the 35 in the first half, and then pretty much didn't play the rest of the series.
Yeah, I was thinking that series wasn't going to amount to anything, and then lo and behold, the Pacers go and beat the Knicks. So,
yeah.
But speaking of the Knicks, I have them at 2. They're trying to compete with Boston. I think they're going to be right there with them, and I think they may have the team to do it. So I'm excited to see how it turns out.
I like that as well. I also have the Knicks at 2 and the Boston at 1. I do still think Porzingis being out for a while to start the season is definitely going to hurt them a little bit at the beginning in terms of their record. But they were 21-8 last year without him. I'm not too worried about them. But
and he didn't play most of the finals either last year, and they still rolled Dallas.
They still rolled them, and they honestly rolled all the way on their way there. And
right.
So the Knicks are a great team. I think that they did improve as well. And if they, like the Hornets, not in the same caliber, but if their ceiling is way, way higher if they can stay healthy. And I could see them that ranging from a lot of ways. I mean, if you can keep Brunson healthy all season, he could alone will them to a top 4 seed with other injuries. So, I think it's a very good team, and I think that they could definitely surprise some teams come the playoffs.
Yeah, so Connor, we both had Boston first.
Yep.
Valid. And you can argue that they even got better as well. I mean, Lonnie Walker, come on, he just fell right into their lap, and that's a crazy signing for them. So,
it's very championship and keep everybody, which they did.
Yeah, their depth is insane. So
they are the best team in the NBA right now, as of today.
Easily. But let's go ahead.
But that's where they are right now.
Going to the West now?
Yeah, let's get into the West. I think we can keep these kind of first 5 to honestly 7-ish pretty short.
Yeah.
I got Blazers in last. I'd argue that we all probably do.
I do.
I have the Jazz in last. I got the Blazers in 14, but I'm open to either one of them being last. I think it's kind of I don't think either one of them are any good.
I have the Jazz in 14, so I
got Jazz at 14 too.
Yeah, I guess maybe you argue. I guess they got Larry Markkinen as kind of an all-star level player. Maybe
that is top. Yeah.
Even with their whole team healthy, they weren't winning games against competitive teams.
Yeah.
They were high.
I don't think either one of those teams really has any chance of making any noise though in the West. So we can probably.
Yeah.
And though I do think that there's a big jump from the 14-15 all the way up to the 13 and up caliber teams, I will say I think that both the 14 and 15 teams in the West would be potential playing teams in the East. I mean, the West is so stacked. It's hard to rank the West for sure.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I got a hot take at 13. Well, maybe. I don't know. I'll put the Clippers there.
Right there with the same number. I got them at 13. Also.
I had them at 12, so
okay,
I'm not crazy far off.
I mean, you don't know what you're getting out of Kawhi Leonard, if anything, anymore.
If he's playing.
And James Harden
he's out indefinitely.
Everyone wants to talk about how old James Harden or LeBron is. I think you could put James Harden kind of up there in that camp at this point too. He's
35.
Yep. And you lose PG, who is your biggest.
You lose Russell Westbrook, who was eating a lot of minutes.
Yeah. They got Derrick Jones Jr. though.
Kind of, you got to.
My 13 was the Spurs, but I had the Clippers at 12. So
Spurs, Spurs are my 12.
Yeah.
I think I had the Spurs. No, my bad, boys. Spurs were 13, Clippers 12.
So that's how mine was.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So Wemby gonna make a crazy jump. He is the scariest man in basketball in terms of he is so young, but he's already a top 10 player in the NBA, in my opinion. And
I think for me too, that what really kind of proved that, because it was maybe a little bit more of a level playing field for him, because his team wasn't as bad, was how he looked in the Olympics this summer.
Oh my goodness, right?
Oh my God, yeah, dude, he was insane.
Because it's not just the Spurs; it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. Because he was really watching a lot of those games last year, because they were one of the worst teams in basketball. But even if they can be the 12 or 13, that's kind of a mini jump. We were talking about it earlier with like LeBron and Jordan and all the greats. They didn't start on teams that started great. It'll be before they get a real point guard in there. A good point.
Like for their point guard for the future.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's Stephon Castle, but
I really would like an idea of moving Trae Young to the Spurs.
Yeah, I was hoping for that too, but they never
Hey,
happened.
there's still time in the future. Trae's still young.
Or as much as it stinks to Pistons fan, if we keep losing, and you could see Cade Cunningham one out, and that could be a match made in heaven.
Oh yeah, damn, yeah, those two together would be insane.
Yep.
Let's move on to number 11 now. I got the Pelicans.
Ooh.
I think Connor and I both have the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, we have the Rockets. I think that it's just hard with the Rockets because they're a very good young team. But I just think that the West is so stacked that I think their time is going to come. And there's a lot of teams in the West right now that are just slightly above them that have their window is slightly starting to close.
Right. You look at like the Lakers maybe.
Yeah, the Lakers, the Pelicans, even with like Brandon Ingram and how that's working, and DeJounte Murray's not on a long deal with them, and we'll see how healthy Zion can stay for the longest time. But then you got teams like the Warriors and Steph Curry's time's fallen, and there's just a lot of teams ahead of the Rockets right now that are still better than them overall. But I think that the Rockets' time will come. Sengun, Green, Reed, Shepard, Thompson, all these guys definitely, or Jabari Smith. They have one of the best young cores in basketball, and I can see them making like an Oklahoma City Thunder leap in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
But for right now, I don't think they're there quite yet, and that's why I have them there.
Yeah, I'm with Connor. I think they're a year away.
That's very fair, boys. I think if we were to talk about the Houston Rockets last year, I think we'd also say they were a year away. So I have them at my number 10.
Okay.
I just put the Pelicans behind them. I just don't trust Zion or Brandon Ingram to stay healthy, and it's been the same thing every year with them. They had a really solid season this year, but they were lucky with Zion to stay that healthy, and then playing he drops 40 and then gets hurt. So, I think, I was more willing to give the Rockets that edge over into the play-in for them. I think it's their time to finally get a play-in game in there.
Yeah, I can understand it. I just think that the addition of DeJounte Murray definitely is going to help this team's. I don't think they got any worse. And last year they were a playoff team, and I think they just got better. So I have them a little higher, but
yeah, that's fair.
So we
got 10.
10. I have the Grizzlies.
Oh, okay.
It's tough. Did you have them there as well?
No.
You had them. Yeah. So it's really tough for me to gauge the Grizzlies. Like I said, this is a very stacked West, and I've talked 3 times, I think, now about how I don't know where to put them.
Yeah.
I could see them being the 12 seed. I could see them being the 3 seed. They've showed what they can do before, and they have a very talented roster and a very deep team and a very underrated team. But I see them. I have them at 10 because I think that they will at least make the play-in, and I think that they'll at least have a shot to compete for the playoffs. We're not over here debating on who's going to make our playoff predictions, because I think that they're a team that could go far. But based on just regular season wins, waiting for Edie to get accustomed to his position, and Ja coming back after 2 seasons of playing like 25 total games, like it's going to take some time. But they are a very good team. It's just their level is hard to gauge, I think.
Right, that's a very safe spot to put them, I think. Because technically you're not wrong if they, don't make it. And if they do, then you're also sort of right. So, yeah.
Warriors at 10, I just think that, although I think maybe you can make an argument the Rockets could get them, I think that the experience of Curry and Draymond Green and Wiggins and all that, as long as they stay healthy, will be enough to get them into the play-in. I don't think they're really dangerous to win anything anymore, especially without Klay Thompson. But I think they'll make the play-in, and still probably no one wants to see them in the playoffs, even if they're really not a huge threat to.
For sure. No, you definitely don't want to see the Warriors. You definitely don't. Still, I think. Did we all do number 10?
Who was your 10?
My 10 was the Rockets.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
So my 9 was the Warriors, and like I said, I agree with what you said completely.
Yeah, my 9 was the Pelicans. Kind of agree with what you're saying. These are all kind of coin flips in this part of the standings.
yeah, my 9 is the Kings. I think the addition of DeRozan is nice, but how many balls are there to go around? De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Domantas Sabonis, they all are players that sort of use the ball, and I think DeMar, he does add a lot of clutch factor, but at his age, how much can he really do on the defensive end in a stacked Western Conference? And I just think you can put them anywhere in the play-in. I just decided to put them at 9. I'm more confident in the other teams I have in front of them.
So my 8 was the Pelicans. I may have them higher than you guys. Would you have the Pelicans? 9. My thing is just, like I said before, they were the 8th seed last year, and they only got better. I understand most of the West got better. But they're Zion's a great player, and, I just couldn't really, my heart drop them after in what I saw as an improvement in offseason. So,
yeah, that's valid.
Sorry.
No,
my 8 Grizzlies, I think them adding Edie's going to be interesting to see how that works. But I think that even without him, I think probably in that range of probably maybe 9 through 11, he might push him up to be an 8 in terms of just being that close. And I think having John Morant for a full season and having Bane and Jaren Jackson back, I think they'll be pretty good.
Yeah. No,
not really a contender, but a playoff team.
Yeah, I totally agree with that take. I'm pretty confident in the Grizzlies. My 8 was the Phoenix Suns, and again, it's going to be health for me. I think
pretty low, man. That's pretty low.
I know. I got wacky in the West, man. It's very hard to rank these teams. These guys could easily be 7 or the 6th seed again. I just, they didn't. Yeah, sure, Grayson Allen got buff or whatever, but he's, just that's not going to make them out of the play-in. And I was just more confident in what the Lakers had done, so I put them one spot in front of the Suns. And this big 3 hasn't proven anything to us yet, and hell, they haven't even played a full season together. So this will be their first run at that, and we'll see if this big 3 that Matt Ishbia threw together can actually work out. So,
well, going into my 7, I have the Kings here. I think I'm a huge fan of the Kings. I think they could be a lot higher than this. Just a couple, like I said, definitely window teams ahead of them, multiple window teams ahead of them. That I think are just barely keeping them out. But you talk about how not a lot of ball to give around. But man, can you name me a time DeMar DeRozan went to a new team and hasn't significantly improved their team? I mean, he's just an overall great fit everywhere. He just looks like he should be in a Kings jersey, in my opinion. He goes to the Spurs and he overall helps them out a lot. He has an all-star season. He goes to the Bulls, and last year he was the overall number 1 clutch player in all of basketball. He goes to a team now that he honestly fits perfectly in, with a speedy, assist-heavy point guard in Fox, a great, probably debatably the best rebounder in basketball, and Domantas Sabonis, and he's able to thrive in what he's in. And you have a great player in Malik Monk, who's a great scorer as well. And I could see a world where they end higher than this. But for now, I'm just going to keep them a little low. But I'm pretty high on the Kings.
Right, they could have another random, 3rd seed kind of season as well. I totally agree with you.
They did a couple years ago.
Yeah, I just totally went with the pessimistic side there. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
See, Caleb, I like your take about the Suns, about them being overachievers. And although I don't have them at 7, I have them at 6. But when it comes to a team that underachieves with stars, no one in the sport says I like the Lakers, and that's why I have them at my number 7. I don't trust the Bronny distraction thing not being a thing. How much is Anthony? I know Anthony Davis played a lot last year, but recently he hasn't been playing a lot in the regular season. So I got the Lakers at 7 and the Suns at 6.
That's fair, dude. I also have the Lakers at 7. They've been a play-in team since the play-in's been a thing, and they're pretty comfortable there. I think they're going to just coast through the regular season, maybe have a couple win streaks, a couple bad losing streaks. It's the same thing past couple years with them. Not expecting much different, especially as LeBron gets older.
Right, LeBron hated the plan when it started until he's playing it every year now.
Yeah, now he's loving it. Yeah, but he's a little higher now in our rankings for the play.
Yeah.
Now he probably doesn't like it again.
Right.
But I have the Lakers at 6, just kind of keep going off of them a little bit. Like I said, all toss-ups with these teams, I can see them being flipped with a lot of teams ahead and below them. You can't ever count out the GOAT.
Is he coming out of retirement?
And then like we were talking about more, I mean, I just think that Dalton Connect is a piece that definitely was needed. That's going to be able to help right away. Maybe bring them from, that helps them win maybe 4 to 5 more games this season than they did last year and help them out a little bit. And then, I'm not saying I'm a believer of the JJ thing, but I'm also a believer that it's not all in the coach's fault. And they every single year, they blame it on the coach every single year. And in reality, what does it really come down to? It comes down to the health of Anthony Davis is what I really think. And I think that if you have a season, I still think Anthony Davis has a chance to make an MVP push this year. I mean, he is that good still. So it's kind of hard for me to put them any lower than 6, but it's also pretty hard for me to put them any higher.
Right. It was really hard for me to put this team at 6, but I do truly believe in them. I have the Warriors at 6. I have them as a mainstay playoff guy, and just like you were saying, you can't count out LeBron. I don't think you can count out Steph yet either. And what I've seen from them in preseason has been it's been very promising. I think they have their kind of strength in numbers sort of motto.
Did they go undefeated in the preseason?
Yeah, they did.
They're not going to win a game in the regular season.
Dude, if they go 0-82, bro, like, hats off to them.
Just to do it.
But yeah, maybe. But yeah, I do believe in the Warriors, but it does depend on Steph's health. So I'm putting a lot of sort of trust into that. But I think losing Clay and getting all that just kind of negativity that kind of came with him out of there, and really just letting these other role players like GP2, Brandon Pajemski or whatever his name is.
AirPods.
They're all very, very solid role players, and I think that kind of goes undiscovered to most NBA fans, and I think they're gonna make some noise this year. If not the 6th seed, I think they'll definitely be in the play-in at least.
Yeah.
So,
did you take your 6 yet?
Yeah, I already said the Suns.
Did you?
Yeah, the Suns and Lakers.
Oh yeah. So I guess
5
to go to 5, I have the Suns there. So we can talk a little bit more about the Suns. We talked. Where did you have the Suns again, Caleb? Well, you had them.
I had the Suns at 8.
Right? Yeah,
and I'm at 6.
I understand that they disappointed last year, but I really do think it really just did come down to health.
Yeah.
It's again one of those things where I can't just assume that people are going to be injured.
But how much does Bradley Beal have left in the tank?
What makes you think he doesn't? He hasn't been playing. Bradley Beal hasn't played recently and looked bad. He just hasn't played. There's a difference, right? I don't think there's any. I don't think it's fair to count out Bradley Beal when they've played together. They've only played I think there's only been 12 games where Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant have played together, and they've won 10 of them. I mean, in a situation where they're able to all play together, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal are a dangerous, debatably best big 3 in basketball. And I'm being a little optimistic with them, I think, but at the same time, they were the 5 seed or 6 seed last year, and they weren't even healthy all year. And I could just see another year of them meshing together. Definitely doing something that shocks a lot of people. So I could see. I consider the Suns contenders. I think this is about where I put at that 5 seed and above teams in the West specifically, where I would say that they can contend. I don't think the Lakers can. I think the Suns can.
All right, at the 5, I have the last team that I wouldn't consider a contender, even though I'm really high on them, is the Kings. I think Ahmed, DeRozan, and Fox and Monk and all that, and Sabonis, I think they're a really good team, but not a contender.
I like it. I could see them being that high as well, but at the same time, it's it's tough with a lot of the other teams ahead of them. But yeah, I don't hate it at all.
I don't hate putting them there either. I put them at 9, but really, the West is so insane. You just never know. At my 5, I put the Grizzlies. I'm very optimistic about them. They were the 2nd seed when Ja played the whole year, so I just think him coming back, them having Edie, and then Jaren Jackson, he's only getting better. And then, they don't have Dylan Brooks anymore. So they're going to, I think a lot of their role players go under the radar for some people as well. So I just think with Ja back, you saw the difference it made when Ja was back shortly this past season. So I think they're going to come back firing.
I like it. It's that was probably the hardest team to keep low for me was the Grizzlies. I mean, I had them all the way down at 10, but I could see them all the way up to 5, honestly, or even higher than that. But yeah, I like it.
Cool. All right.
So at that point, it kind of solidifies that we all have the same top 4 in some type of different order.
Oh, yeah,
so
definitely.
I'll start mine off.
There was no debate.
Yeah, I think this is where, all the 4 of these teams I could see at least in the finals. And I'm going to say I got the Mavs at 4.
I got the Timberwolves at 4.
I got the Nuggets at 4.
So yeah, we're all over the place, and all for the same reasons. We talked about the Mavs earlier with Clay. We don't need to go any more deep into that, but yeah, I'm putting them at 4 just because it's a toss-up.
Right, and then we actually talked a lot about the Timberwolves too with DiVincenzo and Randall. So yeah,
right.
Why do you have the Nuggets on at 4? I mean, I know they had Russell Westbrook is not high on Jamal Murray. You just low on Jamal Murray, like a lot of people are. I'm assuming.
I don't know. I just think the Nuggets are going to experience a little bit of fatigue this season. They've had pretty deep playoff runs these past 2 years, and they won the finals in 2023. And I just think these other teams are ready to take a leap over them. And they also lost KCP, who was a huge role player for them.
I mean, he was huge for them, but
yeah,
they're another one of those teams where they could end this regular season at 4 and still make it all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I have the Timberwolves at 3.
Okay, and then I had the Mavs at 3.
I had the Mavs at 3 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me because the Timberwolves are a team that I don't really think I don't think you could cement it in and say they got worse. They just changed. I think that they're taking.
I think they got better.
I think they're taking a different approach. And they were the 3 seed last year. I see them being very similar to their competitiveness this next year. It's just going to be really interesting to see, how they do it. So I'm excited. I think Anthony Edwards will win MVP this season.
He definitely could.
That's not my pick, but he's going to be a top 5 player in the NBA this year, and the sky's the limit for them.
Well, like I said about the Mavs, might be the best offense with their big 3 even offensively, but what do they look like defensively? Can they win a championship with that defense?
Yeah, I agree. And, for the same reasons we've been saying, that's why I have the Mavs. I'm optimistic about Clay being there. He's just got to find his rhythm. So.
Yep.
And you have the Timberwolves at 2.
Timberwolves at 2. They were 3 last year, I think. So, I think they're ready just to, works out with Ant's path to, being the face of the league. I think he's ready to take another jump despite losing Cat. But like Coach keeps saying, man, DiVincenzo, he's going to be a difference maker for sure.
No, I think that's the big one.
I mean, they already have Nasrid off the bench. Now you got DiVincenzo as well. Yeah. That's lethal depth.
There's an argument they're the deepest team in basketball now.
Yeah,
I do agree with that.
Celtics are probably still the deepest team, but
the best bench in basketball, anyways. I mean, as much as we love Sam Hauser,
right?
Honorary Spartan dog.
So I have the Nuggets at 2.
I have the Nuggets at 2. The reason I put them ahead of the Mavs and T-Wolves, and even thought about putting them above our number 1, who we both have as the Thunder, is because Nikola Jokic is still the best player in the world. I believe that, and I think that Jamal Murray, people are maybe a little too far down on. Westbrook's still got some stuff left in the tank. Aaron Gordon. I know people don't like Michael Porter Jr., but they still got a good team, and I do still think Jokic is. I still think Jokic is the best player in the world. I think people kind of forget about that. I agree. I even think he's the best player in the world, and I think there's a little bit of a gap, but I think people don't like that because he's not flashy and plays kind of slow.
I would say there's a gap, but I think that you could definitely. I think that you can just because of his recent MVP seasons and his success, that you could definitely say he's one. But there's not a big fall off, in my opinion, to Giannis and Luka. But I
think that one's a much more complete all around player.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you guys are saying. I think I am downplaying the Nuggets' abilities here, but I'm also just looking at potential of Mavs and Timberwolves, and I just think they're ready to take a jump, so I'm just taking a bet on them.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then I think with the Caruso and Hartenstein acquisitions, the offseason, we got a clean sweep with the Thunder.
I mean, I think they have the best offseason in basketball.
Yeah,
they already were the number 1 team in the West. So
yeah, I think everyone agrees.
I think there's an argument to be made that the Thunder have the deepest roster in basketball.
That's also
there is.
Definitely make that argument.
There is, yeah.
But yeah, I had them at number one. Obvious reasons, we've talked about it. So
Yeah.
there's the official over the line rankings.
You got to get a graphic made later.
I should.
Yeah.
But now we can move into.
Let's start at the bottom and then move up to the coolest ones.
Okay. Well, coach of the year. What do y'all think?
Oh, we did coach of the year?
I just did OKC's coach, Mark Dagnall. That's who I think is going to win. And, they're going to probably win over 60-something games. So that'll be...
Yeah, I'll take the same pick as you.
That'll be an easy pick, I think, for the league.
I think
I'll tail, but I also think Thibodeau can be up there as well.
Yeah.
I think Thibodeau could win it too.
Because I think Thibodeau did a lot with a lot less in the playoffs, and I think Rick Carlisle as well with the Pacers did a great job last year. I could see him being a guy, but yeah, I'll rock with you guys, and we can all go Thunder.
Yeah, if my Magic pick turns true, maybe their coach will win Coach of the Year. I don't know their coach, but let's go.
Not Sean Clifford anymore. Or not Sean Clifford, Steve Clifford.
Yeah.
Right.
Steve Clifford. He bounced back and forth between the Hornets and the Magic for 4 straight years, and then now he's a front office person for the Hornets because he doesn't have the fire to coach anymore. But anyway,
that's crazy. He never had the fire.
He's the one who was he was the one who was pushing for Paolo over Shet in the draft. But so what'd you have next, Caleb?
Let's do 6th man of the year. Who do y'all think?
I think that Naz Reid runs it back, personally.
I agree.
The same team, different players. We've been talking about him so much. DiVincenzo.
Okay. I really like that pick. I think a dark horse pick for me, just to be different, Buddy Hield might fuck around and win it.
Yeah.
In the Warriors?
Yeah.
I forgot he was even there. Yeah, I'm not crazy at all. Malik Monk and him play like a... I'm sure I could see either of them winning it. But
right,
yeah,
if one of them averages like 18 points off the bench or something like that, I could so see it happening. Especially if my Warriors end up being as good as I told them, or as good as I wrote them down to be. We'll see.
Yeah.
Defensive player of the year. This one was kind of tough for me.
I thought this was the easiest one out of all.
Yeah, I think that's the guy that they're going to be naming the award after damn near in 2 decades.
Wemby is going to win.
Yeah, Wemby's going to.
Oh, that's so fair.
But I think that I will say, in the future, I think it's going to be clean sweeps from Wemby. He's going to win 8 of them in his career or whatever. I think this year Bam could win it. I think Bam is going to have a very good chance of winning it. He ended second this last year, first team all defense. He's only getting better. I think he has a great chance of winning it, being on a better team. But I'll give it to Wemby.
And I was also saying before his career ends, I think Chet Holmgren gets 1 or 2 of them.
That's fair. You just said Chet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Chet winning it this year.
You got Chet?
Yeah. And I think he can win it just because his team is going to be better. So maybe, him locking it down low, and he's pretty quick on his feet too. He can get blocks out on the perimeter, so I just think his versatility will be really nice for that team. Wemby can do all that stuff too, but Chet's team is just going to be winning.
I can see it.
Who did we have for Rookie of the Year?
I got Dalton Knecht.
Interesting.
That was my dark horse pick right there.
Did you pick him as well?
He was my dark horse pick.
Okay.
I have someone who I actually think is going to win it, but
I think it's going to be Zach Edey, strictly because I love that. I think that Zach Edey is going to play and have as big of a role as any rookie, and I think he's done great in preseason. He did great in the summer league, and he's just overall shown that he is able to play at this level, and that was the big question for a lot of people.
He could potentially average close to a double-double.
Yeah, I mean, I think with a rookie class,
he's fucking 7'4".
Yeah,
I think just with a rookie class and overall his position on the team, like what his role is going to be, I have hhim.
I think his spot he went, it's a great fit for him.
Yeah. I think Reed Shepherd is my second, but I like Edey.
I wrote down Reed, and then considering where I had the Rockets, I changed my answer to. I either think they're just going to give it to Zachary Shashay if he ends up playing a lot of minutes, or I really think Rob Dillingham has a chance to win it.
Oh, yeah, not crazy.
If So
who's your pick then, Rob?
I'll go with Rob just to be different.
Yeah.
But I could see him averaging like 13 points off the bench or something like that. Something crazy.
Yeah.
I like it.
So now is it just MVP?
I had most improved player I had.
Oh shit, true.
have an MIP?
I'll go with my boy Cade. I'll be optimistic here.
I was telling him before this. Cade was in my top 3. I had him, Jalen Johnson on the Hawks, and then my pick is Jonathan Kuminga. I think
Kuminga's gonna be
I think that the Warriors are gonna, if they're going to be good, they're gonna need a huge jump out of Wiggins' production from last year. Who we just found out recently that he was going through his dad's passing, which no one really knew that was going on, and he had a crazy down year after being an all-star starter the year before that, and being in winning a championship, and then this happens last year. Hopefully everything's going well with him, and he's moving past that mentally, and he's able to make a big jump. But I also think Kuminga's a guy who, at the end of last season, was able to just take a huge leap, and I think he's just going to continue in terms of stats, especially to help them get into the playoffs and eventually win MIP.
Yeah, dude, Warriors player development is so good. And I don't care what anybody says. Like, they can turn any guy. Gary
Look
Payton.
at your pods. He's freaking like, how's that dude starting? Like,
yeah, literally, and he's good.
He's going.
You know?
He's good.
My MIP is in between two guys on the same team, but I'll side with Chet Holmgren, but I think I could see him or Jalen Williams winning it.
That's fair. I
like I had Jalen Williams one of my top guys too. I like those.
All right. Am I forgetting any awards then, or is it just MVP now?
MVP.
We didn't say our finals prediction.
Oh shit.
But we can do that at the end if you want. But we can just go in there.
Let's do MVP first, then we'll do finals prediction.
I went with Shea.
I also went with Shea.
Okay, I'm gonna stick with my Bucks revenge tour. I'll go Giannis, and then I'll lead off finals. I think Bucks over Thunder.
Bucks over Thunder. That'd be a good finals, I think.
Bucks over the Thunder. Huh? I have the Celtics over the Nuggets.
Which is
I think
the
this is the last year of the Nuggets window of not being good, because I think they're going to be good for a while.
Yeah.
But I think that this is the end of their window with how good a lot of these young teams are getting out west and out east.
Yeah.
That I think this is the last year for them to compete, and I think they're going to go all in, and I have them losing to the Celtics. In 6.
I'll go with it's obviously going to be Celtics, and then yeah, man, I'm going to go Celtics Thunder. I'll be different here. I seriously think the Thunder.
One and said he was going to be different.
What are you talking about?
You took your one in the East and your one in the West and said, I'm going to be different.
Well, no, from you guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just think the Thunder really do have a chance to win it. And based off just how I seeded them and everything, I seriously do think they have a chance to meet up with Boston in the finals. And they're one of the teams from the West who actually does have a legit chance to really just match up with everybody on that team. So I think a team that's full of versatility versus a team that's full of versatility would be awesome to see. So
that would be would be a really fun finals to watch. Caleb, I think we should do our locks and then call it, because I would love to do. I think we can record in a couple days if you want, like maybe after watching one game of our Pistons and Hornets before we do that talk.
Yeah.
Or just a you and me thing anyway. But if you want, but I can start off our locks. How many did you do?
I did 3.
I did 3 as well. Did you have any locks?
No, I did not.
Okay. So
I'm currently serving a betting suspension.
That's awesome.
So my first lock, my third highest, and what I'm confident is I have Celtics covering the 5.5.
Okay.
I like them over. They're at home. I like them over the Knicks.
Right, and they have more camaraderie than these Knicks do. I do think this could
it's going to
easily
take a little time for the Knicks to mesh, especially being on the road. I didn't see Godwin got here too, but damn. But yeah, so that's my 3. You want to give one?
Yeah, I mean, all of mine are in a same game parlay, so
okay.
I'll just say my lock is gonna be Timberwolves just winning. I got their money. I got their money line.
I stayed away from that. What was the spread? 1.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I wanted to stay away from that because I am a little scared too, along with the whole, we'll see how Julius and everything goes. But I think another one that I think is not a lock, but an odd that I think is at really good odds is Anthony Davis being the top point scorer at plus 320.
Okay.
I think he has the third best odds and behind LeBron and Anthony Edwards, and I think that I got him at plus 320 being the top point scorer in that game.
That's valid. And in terms of points, I got the entire score being over 219.
Okay.
So go ahead and take the over there, y'all listeners.
Yeah,
I think
that's a lot.
also every single game I feel like I see of the Lakers, like they always lose their opener. I swear to God, they always.
Yeah. I feel like that makes sense.
So I'm it's LeBron. He doesn't care about winning the first one. It's a feel-out game. So I'm just
First
taking.
game with Bronny though.
Oh my God, he's not even gonna get in, bro. But
my overall number one Lakiana. Put this in, Dunny. If you're watching, throw all coin on it. LeBron James over 1.5 3-pointers made.
Oh, dude, that is such a lock.
That is cashing.
Well, he's probably shooting 7 of them.
That's what I'm saying. He's gonna hit one of the fuck you threes at least 3 or 4 times. So
Right. Are they at home too?
I think so.
Hey, he'll go 3 for 9.
Yeah.
Right, something like that.
Solid.
I got
33% isn't that bad.
I got the People's Champ, Nas Reed, over 11.5.
Okay.
I like it.
I like it too.
So that's the lead locks. Those are the Connor locks. We'll get coach's locks next time he's on when he's done with his suspension.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to do it for this season preview for Over the Line. We hope you enjoyed our predictions, and we hope you follow our betting advice, and we'll let y'all know how we did next episode.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, it's getting late. We're going to go ahead and call it here. So this has been Caleb, Connor, and Coach. Appreciate you joining us, Coach. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And hope all of you have a great rest of your day, and we'll update soon.
All right. See you guys
Sounds
soon.
See ya.